The last 2 decades of the 20th century were a golden age of technology. The rise of cell phones, the World Wide Web, personal computing, autonomous drones.
Change is occurring so rapidly that even those involved find it difficult to keep pace.
Witnessing every milestone was the TV series Beyond 2000. Its presenters travelled the globe, searching for innovations that would give us a glimpse into the future. Now that we're in the future, it's time to look back at the tech that did and didn't change the world. From the iconic to the offbeat.
Ready?
We're travelling back.
Fire.
Before 2000. The 80s and 90s were full of bold knitwear.
Well, in Tokyo, you don't have to.
And even bolder predictions about how life would be in the future.
Well, in the 80s, I think retrospectively, we probably were living our best lives. We got a glimpse of the future, and we wanted more of it.
Say hello to Robotender.
I'll be able to sit in the 19th hole and do all the lawn mowing from there.
I think it's fair enough that we thought that all these modern conveniences and gadgets were going to make our lives better, because it's literally what they promised. It was what was on the box.
It was time to unlock the best version of you, and the possibilities seemed endless for living our best lives. As the future dawned, age-old routines were on the way out.
Oh dear, late for work again.
And maybe we could spice up the regular commute in our own personal hovercraft.
This will give them something to talk about.
First developed in Britain in the mid-50s, the combo of flying, floating and four-wheel driving led to predictions we'd see hovercraft everywhere. This craft came in kit form and apparently was fairly simple to put together, allowing anyone a hair-raising trip to work.
Well, that was probably the most unusual commuter experience I think that I've ever had.
While hovercraft commutes never really took off, there were signs that one day our daily drives might be put to better use.
Hi, I'm on my way home. It's a really warm day. Why don't we turn on the air conditioning? And how about running the bath water and turning on the sauna?
In a world before Bluetooth and Alexa, Japanese innovators offered a glimpse at our home of the future.
Hello? I'm at home, but there isn't anyone else here. That's because there never was. Just this magnificent house and the Toshiba home system, which controls everything, whether I'm here or not.
This system used wired connections to link devices within the home, allowing control to be done remotely or via the control panel.
This is the control panel, which has been answering my calls. I can also control it manually, from the lights and power points to the door locks. And when you're about to leave the house, you press this button, and it turns out the lights and checks to make sure everything's in order. Oops, I've left a window open.
This was the time where computers were really starting to come onto the scene, and as we all know, computers are the foundational technology of so much of what we do now.
And with newfangled computers taking care of everything, there was little to do but pour yourself a cup of tea and fine-tune the room's temperature.
This technology seems wonderful. Things pop on and off with the touch of a button or a phone call. But you have to do a few things in advance, like putting the rice in the pot, or the security system has to be programmed.
So you might think, hang on a second, this was something from the 80s that was a bit push button and a bit wacky and was probably never going to work. Now in Japan, they have smart apartments for older people that if they don't get out of bed in the morning, an alarm goes off because the bed knows that the weight hasn't shifted. So the Toshiba smart house is here. It's just not in that form. It has evolved into being something else, and it has scaled into places that you wouldn't necessarily expect it.
We weren't living in a space age quite yet, but we were on the cusp of something revolutionary, even in the smallest room in the house.
These are the world's first intelligent toilets. A 15-function computerised combination of bath and bidet. $1,000 worth of high-tech hygiene that will consign toilet paper to the dark ages.
If only he was right. We could have all avoided those scuffles for toilet paper during the pandemic. This entire unit sat on top of your existing toilet and allowed the user to tweak water flow, temperature and wind speed.
Well, that was a unique experience, especially if you push the wrong button by mistake.
By 1990, it looked like a small robot army would take over our dirty work.
No, it's not automatic yet. I still have to manipulate the controls with this radio transmitter. But at least it's an easier way to clean the carpet.
There was great optimism about machines enabling us to work less.
Called the Greedy Collector, this remote-controlled vacuum cleaner would have delighted 9-year-olds and their overworked parents in equal measure.
It could be quite a few years before this is on the market. But the company is working on a fully automated model, a robotic system, which has sensors so that while you're out doing the shopping, it will be here doing the vacuuming without any human involvement.
In the 80s, we were thinking, hey, these things are going to take away all that stuff. We're going to have more time for life. We can get rid of the little chores that we need to do. It didn't happen. Of course, I still vacuum.
Most of us still do. But day by day, that's changing, with 14% of Americans owning robot vacuums and around the same amount intending to buy one. And other chores were on the chopping board too.
When you practically live out of a suitcase like I do, your clothes can become a wrinkled mess. Just look at this. And all these other clothes. You know, I wish there was some machine that could iron them for me. Here in Perth, Australia, there is an ironing machine. Right now it's in developmental stages, but let's see what it can do for this wrinkled dress. The ironing machine was invented by Tini Naidu, and actually doesn't resemble an iron at all, but a two-door freezer.
My profession, I'm a mining and petrochemical engineer, and I've been involved in various inventions in the mining profession. And I was bragging about some of my inventions to my wife while she was busy ironing, and she said, well, stop bragging and make me an ironing machine.
It seemed too good to be true. A contraption that used steam, heat and pressure to iron 15 items in 15 minutes? But Tini Naidu's plan for the ironing machine was twofold.
Well, I always wanted to invent something that would be beneficial to mankind and at the same time to be able to bring me a lot of money.
Of course, the true test is how it looks on. In the near future, the ironing machine could become a fixture in every household, just like a dishwasher or a refrigerator. In fact, in the future, Tini says we'll all have ironing machines in our wardrobes or closets. And when you go to bed at night, you'll just hang your clothes in the machine, and when you wake up in the morning, they'll be washed, dried, and ironed. I tell you what, I can't wait. Ouch.
As long as humans exist, there will be laundry, but there's nothing that can really iron it yet. And so this rise of the new forms of robot arms that will do it for you in your laundry, like copies of humans. So machines can't do it through machinery, machines have to do it through biomimicry.
Ironing machines never became mainstream due to their cost and bulk. But the dream of freshly laundered clothes lives on.
It's going to be really cool never to have to iron or fold laundry ever again. It is coming in my lifetime, it is.
But perhaps a robot could help in the great outdoors. Or rather, our backyards.
Ever had trouble getting motivated on a Sunday afternoon to mow the lawns? You certainly would if you, like me, had 36 holes of golf course to look after. Well, this could be the answer to your prayers. Made by Japan's largest tractor manufacturer, Kubota, the PX 2100 is the world's most sophisticated robot mower.
The PX 2100 had four-wheel steering, which allowed it to manoeuvre around nearly any obstacle, and its unique three-cylinder diesel engine could operate all day if needed. It seemed like a revelation.
We had this idea that There would be robot maids and robot butlers and robot lawnmowers, and they would take away all of these sort of chores from our life.
Phew, this is hard work. At the moment, the transmitter will only reach about 100 metres or so, which means I'm forced to track along after this thing to keep it going. But at the moment, Kubota are already working on the next model that will be computer programmable, so I'll be able to sit in the 19th hole and do all the lawn mowing from there.
Fast forward a few years, and as technology progressed, we moved from remote control mowers to hands-free. This time, a Swedish company created a fully automated solar mower that would keep mowing until a suburban lawn was picture perfect.
Behind these two panels on either side are the two rechargeable nickel-cadmium batteries, and in here, the heart of the system, the very clever little computer. The whole thing is incredibly light, only 6.5 kilos, about 14 pounds, so when you want to take it off to another lawn somewhere, just pick it up and off you go.
Again, when we look back and think about the things that would take time and we saw it as a task that we didn't want to do, the idea of delegating that to a robot to do a boring task just seemed so logical.
Well, I guess that Sunday mornings will never be the same again. But to tell you the truth, I don't mind a bit.
Today, the global robotic mowers market is worth over $7 billion. As improved technology makes it easier to track, monitor and operate these bionic gardeners from the palm of our hand. But we weren't just trying to win our weekends back.
Here she comes.
We wanted every day to be as hassle-free as possible. And that included meal planning.
That is something to think about.
If planning the week's menus and making a comprehensive shopping list causes you anxiety, the supermarket of tomorrow will even take care of that. The computerised meal planner is like a culinary big brother. You'll slip in a key card containing data about you and your family, and the computer will plan your entire week's menu. Let's take a family of 4. The parents, Joan and Patrick, have 2 children, a 10-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter. All the foods on the list are relatively low in fats, salt and cholesterol, and the exact amount each member should eat is listed for every meal. It seems the computer has taken it upon itself to put poor old Joan on a diet. She gets half servings of just about everything. The only thing it can't do is stop you ignoring the whole thing altogether and heading straight for the confectionery aisle.
I think one of the appeals about this technology is that it takes away the mental load by producing a meal plan and a shopping list for you. So having someone or something else suggest for you what to make is just so appealing. That's like relaxation at its core.
So I was waking up and not having to make breakfast.
It's called Amanasa Mealsan, which, when roughly translated, means honourable leave it to me. And that's precisely what you do each night before going to bed. Leave all the breakfast legwork up to the machine. Before retiring each night, you simply pop the eggs in the top here. Over here, water and freshly ground coffee and a slice of bread in the front. The next morning at a preset time, the machine cuts open your egg and pours them on the grill. Toast the bread and boils the water. All you have to do is wipe the sleep from your eyes, sit down and enjoy. Well, it's certainly a step up from the old teas-made device of the 60s, and the inventor claims that it is the only kitchen appliance that can perform all 3 functions in one. And that's 3 more functions than I'm capable of performing in the morning, I'll tell you.
In the early 90s, as we began to live our best lives,
and voila,
we were introduced to a new dinner bell. Just the sound alone makes my mouth water.
Even though it's been predicted that by the year 2000, over 50% of households will have 2 microwave ovens, there's still a debate simmering as to whether food cooked in microwaves tastes as good as that cooked in conventional ovens.
Microwaved food was fast, but could it be 5-star quality?
Sometimes, though, you want something that's rather more substantial and, shall we say, a little more appetising. And that's why the makers of the grandly named a la carte to-go meals promise a tasty surprise. Restaurant-style meals that look and taste freshly cooked.
Hello, I never close. My chefs use only the finest quality ingredients.
At either end of the bought food spectrum, a la carte deluxe food and vending machine. They are at the absolute opposite ends when you think of quality, nutrition and taste.
Before you sink your teeth into something tasty like chicken curry with rice, brace yourself, because this meal may have been stored unrefrigerated for as much as 2 years.
Scientists had been seeking a way to provide nutritious meals for future space colonies and discovered that intense flash heat could sterilise and store fresh food. A la carte to go took this space-age technology and applied it to commercial kitchens and fast food.
The process kills any bacteria or viruses already present in the food, and the packaging ensures that no new ones manage to contaminate it. There are absolutely no preservatives or other additives, and the nutritional content of the food is exactly the same as if you'd cooked it yourself.
The idea of getting a beef bourguignon out of the same place you got a can of Coke, it just blew people's heads. They couldn't, you know, it's a clever idea, I reckon, but I totally get why it didn't work.
Back then, though, convenience was the name of the game.
Not bad at all.
Including this dinner party with a difference.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, will you please activate your heat packs?
Heat pack was a boxed meal that would start to cook once a tab had been pulled, starting a chemical reaction that heated the meal in 10 minutes.
Well, we can start this little soiree in a moment after they heat it up, but let's just have a look and see how it works. Here you see the metal food container. I'll just remove that. And inside the box, you'll find this heating compound in a block. Now, what's in there is really a firework in a zigzag pattern sealed inside the brick, and it really does get very hot. It's ignited by the trigger, which is a sort of match head, and that ignites a friction-sensitive pellet, which in turn sets off the compound.
If that doesn't get the party started, nothing will.
Well, I think that the friction-resistant pellets taste superb. Certainly very hot.
Great.
Not bad.
It seemed that hot food, any hot food, was a victory of the era. So technology moved on to making more hot food faster. Welcome to Anytime Pizza, a self-serve pizza station that can make the pizza of your choice, or 240 of them, in an hour.
The major problem they had to contend with was how to have a refrigerator and an oven so close together in the same unit.
So they had to develop a reflective coating and paint it onto the insulation so it would be safe in public spaces.
Well, let's give it a go. First press sauce, regular amount. Cheese, I like double cheese, that's extra there. Oh, this is exciting, the pepperoni.
Honestly, I still find the concept of a pizza-making machine pretty exciting.
What we find is as people get a chance to see the food being made, they break down the barrier of a machine that's actually making it, and they can picture in their minds that, yeah, this is fresh food being put onto a fresh crust and running through the machine. Seeing the process brings those people back. They want to show their neighbors. They want to show their friends.
It even tastes like a pizza.
We loved watching food being made, as long as we didn't have to make it ourselves. And this was the case all over the world. In Japan, chefs traditionally had to spend the better part of a decade training to become skilled in the ancient art of sushi preparation. But in 1987, the world was let in on a culinary secret. Sushi Robots were now running the show behind the scenes.
Really, the making of the sushi is so easy that it's automatable really quickly. Use a robot, keep that side of the service really quick, keep the human service nice and fluid and friendly. So you're not having humans taken away from human interaction in the restaurant because the robot is making the sushi. It's completely logical. Perfect example of a use for a robot.
Add a conveyor belt and you got Japan's ultimate fast food innovation, the sushi train.
This conveyor belt system is really quite convenient. All the food is here at your fingertips. You don't have to wait for a waiter or tip one either. The only problem I see is the potential for overeating. Your eyes and your stomach send a message to your brain saying, shut up and eat. Let's see. I'll have this one and another one of those, and that one, and that one, and...
In some ways, I think making things faster created an obsession with going faster. Knowing that you could be efficient and save time just made us want it more and made us search for more ways we could get that.
The robot takeover had started in the kitchen, and soon there were signs it might spread to even more hallowed ground. We were told it was time to say goodbye to the barkeep
and say hello to Robotender. Cheers.
So Moore's law of computers is that every 2 years you double your computing power. And so suddenly, with computing power increasing, there was an ability for things like robotics to start being actually useful. And speaking, I guess, specifically to a robot bartender, this idea of industrializing or commercializing the way that we work a bar, right?
The added bonus? This was a bartender that could work all day and all night without tiring and without expecting a tip.
A robot lends itself to the structured nature of a bar, where the ingredients are generally in the same place and the action is fairly repetitive, if not always orderly.
Sensors in the robot's hand told it when to stop at a refilling station, and the weight of the ice and the liquid told it to move on. This feedback distinguished this robot from a simpler mechanical device, as the robot was programmed to think for itself. What started as a novelty robot seemed like the first practical example of a robot capable of entering the service industry.
There'll be robot bartenders working, perhaps not in your local pub as much, but in hotels, in casinos, in big restaurants. Maybe not even shown by that time. Its novelty will have worn off and they'll be working in the kitchen. But I think they'll be everywhere.
And this actually speaks to robotics in the best way. We started to see this idea that robots could take one task and do it as well as a human could do. And I think that is why something like the robot bartender maybe works.
But while we waited for robots to take over the peeling, chopping and cooking, we were told science was working on making our food healthier without us having to lift a finger.
But culinary research may see our food of the future free from unhealthy ingredients. For example, scientists are working on a genetically bred potato that tastes so buttery you won't need to add any extra, and a breed of super carrot which contains 5 times the amount of vitamin A of conventional ones. Expect your meat to be 90% fat-free. It'll be made mostly of vegetable protein glued together with seaweed. And when it comes to that sweet tooth, you won't have to go without either. You'll be able to sprinkle an enzyme on ice cream that will eat the cholesterol for you. But don't expect a smorgasbord of new food to be on your table tomorrow, as most is still in research stages.
But until this tech became available, we needed a way to keep score of our meals.
Most of us know that a balanced diet is best for our health, but there are so many vitamins, minerals and other nutrients to keep track of that without the help of a nutritionist, it's hard sometimes to know what you're eating. Well, now there's a way where you can have a nutritionist on hand, literally, at every meal.
The personal food analyst was a calculator for dieters, with a database of 4,000 different fresh and processed foods. By displaying the nutrient values, we could make healthier choices and improve our eating habits.
I mean, in the 80s and 90s, it was really, the waif model was quite big back then. It was considered a done thing to be really thin and really fit, and that's what everyone aspired to. In some ways, we still aspire to it, but we understand that there's a greater social complexity around that. But back then, diets were all the rage.
To get the most out of the program, it probably helps if you already have some knowledge of the role that nutrients play. But for the rest of us, well, it makes dieting just that much easier.
I think the concept has still progressed to the modern day. People do have all kinds of health-related apps where they can track their diet, the calories, essential macronutrients and vitamins. So I think the concept started emerging there. Right?
Health and wellness got a glow up in the 80s and 90s.
A huge interest in fitness really developed as people wanted to live their best lives, and that meant being the best version of themselves.
From the games we played to the gadgets we coveted, we were really hoping that someone or something else could do all the heavy lifting for us.
So meet Wally the weight machine, Chester, Schroeder, Harry, Pierre, Curly, and Ty. They're a series of 8 humanoid workout stations which literally take the weight out of weightlifting and the tedium out of trying. Just compare for a moment Ty, which is a thigh workout machine, with the 2 conventional machines that it replaces.
Adjusting your own lead weights was for suckers. Power Size was a set of streamlined, computerised easy chairs that worked on magnetic resistance.
But what's really unique about the system is that all of the workstations are electronically linked via a central computer. So each of them can know how you have performed on each other. Like Harry can know how you've done on Chester, and Ty will know how you've performed on Pierre. Now, that's important because each of the machines, I'm told, have their own personality, and that can go a long way to solving basic problems of motivation. Well, we'll see.
Wally, the computer, would help you set up a profile, and away you went.
So once you've left Wally the weighing machine, having already established your ID code and your weight, goals and objectives, you then come here to one of the workstations, and this one is Curly. Curly works on the arms, biceps and triceps. Now, the moment you make physical contact with the machine, as you can hear, a synthetic voice, Curly's voice, booms out, requesting that I type in my ID code. And thus begins the relationship between the exerciser and the machine as coach. And as you'll see, it can be a very interesting relationship indeed.
I think the idea of exercise in the 80s was almost like a communal thing in some ways. So exercise really shifted in that time to be something that was not just a recreational activity, but something that made your life better.
With gyms awash with leotards and leg warmers blitzing their way through another class of jazzercise, activity was in. And in 1985, we could start measuring our success.
This is one way to keep fit through the winter, even if it's bucketing rain outside or inches deep in snow. It's a computer-controlled treadmill designed and built in Australia by Hydra Fitness. You've got your speed here, and by pressing the button, you can increase it up to 15 kilometres an hour. You can adjust the slope by pressing here so that you're climbing anything up to a 25-degree incline.
Running was huge in the 80s, and it was kind of seen by many, including me, as the only exercise.
Treadwheels were formerly used as a punishment device, but less than 100 years after being outlawed, they were becoming a popular fitness trend.
Well, while Ian's getting nowhere fast, you might have a look at the pair of running shoes he's wearing. You'll see that one of them has a small liquid crystal display in it. We now have microchips in our TV sets and videos, in our watches and microwave ovens, behind the dashboards of our cars, and now we have them in our shoes.
Technological innovations have allowed us to really hone in on what exercise is and the best ways to do it. So some of us will wear smartwatches, of course, when we're jogging. Some of us will wear these beautiful sneakers that really conserve our energy and make us run better for longer. And so technology has really changed the way that exercise looks in the modern world.
Well, I can see that today, Ian's stride is 72, which is about average. His calorific factor is 76, which is also average. Speed of 10 kilometres an hour, which is not nearly good enough. OK, slave, back to work.
If running was too slow, Why not embrace the it pastime of the era and give inline skating a go?
In a few minutes, I take the field for an international match of a new sport. And I think I'm playing for Spain.
Called sucker ball, it was a combination of blading and basketball.
Preparation is also a key to success, so perhaps I should have learnt to skate before I accepted the game. Bad luck, Spain. But apart from that, the rules are pretty simple. Each player carries a sucker, and to catch a ball on this, you put your thumb over the hole. Ooh, you're only allowed to hold the ball for 3 seconds, so you take your thumb off to release it. Hopefully in the direction of your teammates.
The influx of more leisure saw an explosion of new sports. Some were great and some kinda sucked.
Now, if only I could make a dignified exit into retirement.
But if inline skating didn't create the ideal you, maybe all you needed was a bronzed glow.
So imagine if you could get all the protection from the sun a tan can give without having to expose yourself to UV radiation. Imagine if you could take medication for a perfect tan.
In 1992, researchers were working on the safest tan under the sun. In clinical trials, participants went from fair to tanned by being injected with Milanotan, a chemical variation of the hormone that darkens our skin.
So the theory goes, if you can mimic those signals with a drug, then you could get a whole body tan, a sun-free tan without the UV damage. It sounded too good to be true.
At the time, Milanotan passed clinical trials and was available around the world. But its latest incarnation has not been approved for use in Australia.
It turns out that by activating these cells to produce melanin, you can actually stimulate it to become melanoma. So there's some good evidence that that might be happening. But I think the risks far outweigh the benefit, and so for that reason, many countries around the world have banned this as a product.
Another miracle drug not only changed the face of wellness, it smoothed it right out.
Now we can let you in on the latest secret, perhaps the least conventional treatment of all, because it comes from a lethal poison.
In 1993, we learnt that the same toxin that causes life-threatening botulism or food poisoning was being injected into wealthy New Yorkers' foreheads to erase their wrinkles.
Botox was a perfect example of using Mother Nature's toxin as a brand new business model around how people were suddenly becoming a little bit worried about aging.
Apparently, a patient was being treated for a facial tic with the same drug, and after several injections at the site, the doctor noticed the patient's crow's feet had entirely disappeared. Perhaps it's a stretch to call it a medical breakthrough, but it certainly created a way for us to turn back the clock.
A Botox treatment costs between $500 to $700 US. 2 or 3 a year means you have to be pretty committed to the concept and have the money to back it up. But when it comes to writing off wrinkles and slowing down the forces of nature, it seems people are prepared to do just about anything.
So if you want a gateway drug, for want of a better term, something that's injectable and cheap, that gives you some results, was a perfect way to get people into this idea of cosmetic surgery.
The trend continued, this time anti-aging for the body and the mind. But to access it, you had to go to Mexico.
Most of these people are simply holiday makers, but there is a different sort of visitor arriving here. Older North Americans in pursuit of health, youth and happiness, the fabled El Dorado of rejuvenation. Provided you've got the right sort of money, you can catch up with a rapidly expanding business that's selling human growth hormone treatment to would-be Peter Pans, people over 50 who want to feel on the right side of 40 again.
When we're young, we tend to be leaner, carry less fat and have plenty of energy. Scientists believe that part of the biological cause for that is the secretion of human growth hormone by our pituitary gland. In 1994, people began injecting it directly into their bodies. Howard Turney was so thrilled with his HGH treatments that he started his own clinic in Mexico, dispensing HGH to well-heeled guests.
I had begun having a tremor in my right hand. That was very devastating. I wanted to hide it. I couldn't write. And being a businessman, that was terrible. At 4 to 4.5 months, over a week or two, it just completely went away, has never come back.
The fountain of youth seemed within reach, if you had close to $5,000 and could get to Playa del Carmen. But even in the 90s, there was scepticism around its efficacy and long-term side effects.
For example, we don't know what organs are responsible for the increase in lean body mass and how or whether their function changes in response to the drug. And the studies conducted so far aren't extensive enough to tell us what the long-term benefits or adverse effects might be on a large number of elderly people.
When you take something that can grow things in people who need it from a health standpoint, when people use it recreationally or to look a certain way or to potentially reverse the aging process, as was billed back in the 80s and 90s, there the evidence is more limited. Whether it reverses aging per se, I think is still debated in the field, and certainly can lead to other side effects, for example, erectile dysfunction. So be warned.
But some people were willing to take the risk to reap the rewards.
I do not feel fatigue ever anymore. I get by on less sleep. I never feel tired. When it's time to go to sleep, I'd lay down and go to sleep like a baby. It's just fantastic. I know that I carry on about this, but it really has changed my life.
Okay, let's go.
By the 1990s, innovation and novelty was central to living our best lives. By applying the leaps in technology to our downtime pursuits, it upped our game. Who needed a partner to play tennis?
So you think Pete Sampras is a tennis machine? Well, he's got nothing on this. This is SAM, which stands for Sports Action Machine. Emphasis on the word action. Take a robot that looks like something out of Star Wars and program it with Boris Becker's tennis ability, and what you've got is one very intimidating opponent.
SAM didn't just spit out balls. It could generate topspin or backspin, send down a kick serve or flat serve, slice or smash. Not even Spanish superstar Emilio Sanchez could take the brunt of SAM's serve.
SAM's secret is a powerful microprocessor with a database of literally thousands of different shots. Now, each roller can move at independent speeds. So if you want, for instance, topspin, then the computer commands the top roller to move faster than the bottom one. And the beauty of the whole thing is that it can deliver the same shot to you in the same place, time after time, without fault.
But if tennis seemed a little too high energy, you could enjoy life at any speed.
Imagine relaxing with a round of golf with your own personal caddy. One who keeps a respectable distance, never answers back, and always listens when you call.
By wearing an acoustic beacon, the Robo-Caddy could be at your beck and call for all 18 holes. It could be programmed to stay, go, and also had proximity sensors which stopped it from running into trees or other golfers.
I think the Golf Buddy was appealing because it could give your everyday person more of a sense of luxury.
Each buggy had its own frequency, so golfers could play together without confusing their caddies. Although we don't have to worry about tripping over robo-caddies on every green, some golf clubs do use them to lighten the load. It seemed that if you added a tech-forward component to any leisure time, you were living the dream.
Although I may not look dressed for it, I'm about to go gliding. Underwater, that is. That's because the tow sub here works in basically the same way as an aeroplane. It has wings for stability and this pivoting tailplate, which is attached to controls inside the sub to let you glide up and down.
The tow sub was like underwater skiing, where a diver was pulled by a boat. Made of aluminium and fiberglass laminated foam, the tow sub was light and portable, and assembly was literally a snap. Being dragged through the sea never felt so invigorating. But if you preferred to stay on dry land, this gadget had you covered. Can't be bothered holding onto your fishing rod? The Campo Catcher was your new best friend. The secret behind the rod was the pressure-sensitive switch. It kept an eye on the tension of the line and potential bites from below.
Now, if you do get a nibble, there'll be a slight tug on the pressure switch which activates the lights, so you get a visual warning that something is definitely happening on the other end of the line. Now, if monster fish out there has taken the bait hook, line and sinker...
Grab the rod, grab the rod, the rod, grab the rod, the rod, grab the rod, the rod!
You get a recorded message. Right, let's bring this baby in. The Campo Catcher won't actually reel the fish in for you, but it is definitely tipping the scales in favour of the anglers. Oh. Well, if you think I'm going to try that old joke about fillet of sole, forget it. I mean, only a heel would try that.
Speaking of heels, self-expression via fashion was evident everywhere you looked. 1986 had all the colours.
Well, in Tokyo, you don't have to.
The hair.
Photoelectric diodes.
And the shoulder pads, so the pressure to look your best was real.
It was a real pleasure to meet you. Don't forget, dinner tonight, 7:30.
Dinner tonight? Oh, I forgot all about that. I don't have anything to wear.
With malls becoming the place to spend the weekend, shopping was now akin to a marathon sport, unless you had a hack for that.
Excuse me. Could I try these on, please? I'm sorry, madam. The fitting rooms are full. But you can always try the magic mirror just over there if you'd like. Okay. Thank you.
The magic mirror was the brainchild of a French filmmaker, and it was built to revolutionise the retail world.
First, you line your head and shoulders up with this chart, which goes up or down according to your height. You can make it as tall as you want to, giant size here, or as small as you want to. And once you've lined it up to fit your height, you can adjust the width. And for all of you who feel like you're carrying around a little extra weight, you can be as thin as you want.
The magic mirror allowed you to try on up to 10 outfits a minute without taking off a stitch of clothing. And perhaps it was an early glimpse of online shopping.
It's great that the internet and online shopping has opened up a huge world of choice and the ability to bargain hunt, but at the same time, we've lost sort of the connection to the physical thing that we're actually buying. More and more I'm finding you need to go to a store and touch clothes to know whether they're well made or not, because you can hide a lot in an online image.
Hello.
Your outfit tonight is looking beautiful.
This old thing? I've had it for ages.
Malls were the OG third place before we even knew what that was.
The role of the mall has changed into a bit of a community space in that way.
At a time when people had more disposable income than ever before, these sprawling suburban playgrounds became just that. In 1987, there was one mall that went above and beyond to be everything to everyone 24 hours a day. At a whopping 5 million square feet, the West Edmonton Mall in Canada was the biggest shopping centre in the world.
The ultimate mega structure, incomparable in everything from the size of its air conditioning to its car park. And some say it's a glimpse of the future. It's a bit like turning on all television channels at once and somehow enjoying it. Welcome to the ultimate retail drama.
The West Edmonton Mall was an instant tourist destination where people travelled to go shopping and visit a mall that had more rides than Disneyland.
Everything about this place is biggest in the universe, including the water world that just about makes the beach redundant. Actually, this is more my speed. Inside this place, the sun never has to set, literally.
Living our best lives meant experiencing the finest the world had to offer. And back in 1987, you really could have it all under one roof. Movies and television shows of the era depicted people living intensely glamorous lives.
I think the 90s, the 80s were awash in this, new television, MTV revolution where video killed the radio star. We were starting to see things in a visceral way that we'd never seen things before. And because of that, there was this tsunami of enthusiasm, because look at all these wonderful things we can see in glorious Technicolor.
And so regular people aspired to live that jet-set lifestyle.
And I'll drink to that.
Global travel opened up in the 80s and 90s thanks to wide-body jets that were able to carry more people at once.
But some travel predictions in the 80s seemed a little far-fetched, including a British space plane called HOTOL that by 2004 was supposed to radically slash the duration of international flights.
What would you say to those people in Australia who've been looking forward to an airliner that can take them from London to Sydney in 45 minutes?
Well, you'll have to wait a little longer, but it's possible. At the end of the tunnel, we may well be able to, out of HOTOL, we may have a vehicle that can do just that, but it's a little far away yet.
While we are still far from suborbital around-the-world flights, the 80s and 90s was an era of getting around more quickly. Even if that meant an unholy mashup of a boat and a plane. The Lomac trick was an inflatable rubber dinghy fitted with a hang glider wing and a small engine. Weighing in at less than 200 kilos, it could be assembled in just 15 minutes. But if you had to take a car, it may as well have been this one.
And now we have the Ultra Limo, a land yacht that's about 47 feet or nearly 15 metres long. The American dream stretched to the size of a small semi-trailer.
This was a gas guzzler of epic proportions, but its goal was not efficiency. This was a limo to stop all other cars in its tracks.
Occasionally you'd see someone like a boxer in the back of his 18-seater limo in a jacuzzi, and it would seem, A, that they were fabulously wealthy, lucky them, but B, that maybe one day that's going to be accessible to all of us.
Now there's enough room in here for about 20 people, and I could probably feed and entertain them as well.
There's a fully stocked bar down the back, plush velour seating here, up the front a TV, a videotape recorder, a microwave, even a blender. Oh, and of course there's a fish tank with live fish and a strobe light. It's a strange combination because any disco dancing in here would have to be done on your knees.
And there was one more feature.
Of course, there is one other facility I didn't tell you about for the upwardly mobile extrovert, a traffic-stopping open-air jacuzzi. Of course, you have to be a fairly lunatic Beyond 2000 reporter to get into it. Cheers.
With travel around the globe more feasible than ever before, technology allowed us to choose our own adventures. So it was bon voyage to suburban travel agencies and bonjour to the digital alternative.
Well, this is a new spin-off from the technology that originally created the ATM. It's called the Travel Kiosk.
Welcome to Thomas Cook. The best-known name in travel brings you a new, exciting and convenient way to book your holiday.
The system is undergoing large-scale trials in Europe at the moment, and you can select from a wide range of services and holiday destinations from this main menu on the screen using touchscreen technology.
This was the beginning of the disruption of the travel agent that then gathered pace in a very different form with the internet and completely gave autonomy and power to travellers to find out everything they needed to know. So that was the start of that.
In an early version of Skype, A travel agent was on hand on screen to provide any additional information.
Hello, you've reached the Thompson Cook Travel Kiosk. How may I help you?
This machine did not kill the travel agents, and online booking did not kill the travel agents. Because again, we want to hear about places that people have been to, special deals that we can't get online. So the role of travel agents hasn't died, it's just changed.
More autonomy in travel was here to stay, and it carried over to our hotel experiences as well. With the Japanese creating one of the first self-service hotels in Shinjuku, Tokyo.
Konnichiwa. Konnichiwa. Idle Guinness, Channel 7.
While there were staff to greet you, check-in was done via computer.
But I understand that this computer network will save the work of about 9 people. There's some movement inside now. I think that I'm about to get the change and the key and the card. Ah, there it is. Well, this is the card key, which enables me to get into my room overnight.
So in the 80s, we were talking often about robotics and replacing these sort of smaller daily tasks that we just don't really want to do or have time for. And the computer hotel was one of these things, one of these innovations that allowed us to get rid of things that maybe we didn't necessarily want to do.
We could now bypass the reception queues and head straight up to our room.
Well, we're up on the 22nd floor, and here's the card key. And what I'm going to try to do is to tell the computer downstairs that I've just flown 12,000 kilometres and would love to check in for a bath. And if I've read the instructions right, which I think I have, and I put it in the right way, it should open. The green light's on, and we can go inside.
This was the birth of accessible travel, and today, self-service hotels with enhanced connectivity are the norm.
There's a convenience aspect to being able to sign in, walk straight up to your room and chuck your bags down, jump into bed if you need. And so the computer hotel is a prescient technology, because what do we do today? We do this all the time.
But of course, some hotel experiences remain the same.
That's fantastic.
Nearly 10 years later, and Japan was still the centre of cutting-edge travel experiences. Say konnichiwa to wild blue Yokohama.
It's hard to believe that this place was once a baseball field. It's now a 32,000 square metre tropical island resort, about 20 kilometres from downtown Tokyo. When holidaymakers come here, it doesn't matter what Mother Nature is doing outside, because everything from the temperature to the surf is artificially controlled.
From the artificial surf to the rubber sand, this pleasure playground promised sunny skies 365 days a year. What West Edmonton Mall had done for shopping centres, Wild Blue Yokohama did for the Japanese staycation.
So the idea of these types of places was this idea of convenience, this idea of having everything you want in one spot. And if you have everything you want in one spot, and you don't have to worry about things like delays or the weather, then perhaps that's the way that vacations should look.
If you live in a place, particularly in the Northern Hemisphere, where you lose a lot of sunlight, the idea that you could go and sit for a weekend in a sunny place, my gosh, there'd be queues. There'd be like people queuing up.
But if the fake sand and surf weren't floating your boat, winter was just around the corner, or in Yokohama, across town.
It was hard to miss this enormous ski dome when I finally found it on the other side of town from Yokohama Blue, also about 20 kilometres from downtown Tokyo. It's the world's largest indoor ski resort, and the slopes here are about 500 metres long, and it's steeper than it looks.
With similar facilities now operational in Europe, Scandinavia and the UAE, today an eternal winter is just a flight away. As we looked ahead to the 21st century, living our best life wasn't just a fantasy, and it really felt like technology would take us there.
The rapid rise of technology in the 80s and 90s completely changed every aspect of life. It changed what we thought was possible, what we could achieve, and how we wanted to spend our time.
It was an era of both simplicity and innovation.
I particularly think in the 80s and 90s it was a pivotal time between the old days and the new world that we live in today.
And we couldn't wait to find out what was coming next.